Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Copilot Compass, where each week we take a deep dive into Microsoft 365 Copilot. As always, I have the pleasure of being joined by my esteemed colleague, fellow Copilot enthusiast, and resident smart guy, Logan.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And Logan, why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about what they can expect from this week's episode?
Yeah, as always, we're going to start off with our question of the week, and then we're going to get into our topic, which is Copilot Chat, which is a new Copilot feature that came out just a few weeks ago. And we're going to really dive into the differences between, your standard Copilot and Copilot Chat, and what makes them separate entities. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And make sure you stay tuned to the end. We'll give you a sneak preview of what we got coming up next. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for this week's episode. I think, it was interesting to see this announcement. I'll admit, like kind of that first day or two as I'm trying to digest all this, it felt a bit confusing. So I think I'm hopeful that this will help some of our users at home that are, hearing these buzzwords and just wondering what it's all about. So ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's get into our question of the week. And remember to leave a comment on this video with your own question or click the link in the description to send us an email. So yeah, let's get started. So the question is, what features would you like to be added to Copilot in the future?
Ooh, features. Okay. Yeah, tricky one. I would say, one thing as with Copilot Chat coming out, one of the things which we'll touch on briefly in this episode are the ability for folks like you and I, kind of the non-IT department folks, to be able to create some custom agents. And one thing I was experimenting with was having it basically kind of coach me up on Spanish. I've been struggling with, I took Spanish in high school. It's been obviously, unfortunately, some time, getting a little older, but, 15 years ago. So I've kind of got a foundation, but, certainly by no stretch of the imagination am I able to speak fluently. So I was wondering, okay, maybe I could see if I could build an agent that would help me customized from my, where my understanding is out of Spanish. Because if you look at like Babbel, these other courses, like you're really starting from square one, and you're kind of having to like scroll through to figure out, okay, here's where I should be starting from. And so that's been a challenge. But like the one thing as I was thinking is like I've experimented with it very briefly. The interface is great, but um, it's not giving me coaching, like, am I pronouncing the word correctly? Or, it can't tell me the words like verbally back. So I don't know. I don't, maybe speech integration is out there and we just aren't aware of it. But, yeah, I think that's one that comes to mind immediately for me. Logan, what about you? I mean, you use Copilot a lot. What are some of the things you'd be looking for next?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I really enjoyed the Copilot in PowerPoint, and I really enjoyed the designer feature in PowerPoint. And I wish that they could communicate a little bit more together, so I could, how designer works in PowerPoint. I can click it, I can see a few preset templates, super helpful for, getting some nice designs. But I wish I could kind of coach designer through Copilot to get some more
Oh,
creative ideas and basically just write up exactly how I'd like a PowerPoint to look visually, and have it, create a template for me. Definitely saved me a lot of time, and I think I could, yeah, it would be very useful.
that's a better one. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. But yeah, that's something I think we've talked about before, like when we worked on decks together, where like it'd be great to be able to say, like, hey, take these three slides and make it into one slide.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that designer integration, yeah, being able to kind of give it coaching like you do with the image creation of,
Yeah.
hey, I want a theme that, in our case, maybe is pirate or nautical themed would be really cool. That's a good one. I like that suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, are we ready to start kind of talking about Copilot and Copilot Chat?
Yeah. Let's get started.
Awesome. All right. So I think let's first talk about like what is Copilot Chat, and then we can kind of get into comparing the differences between Copilot Chat and then the other iterations of Copilot. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right. So last week we broke tradition a little bit. Typically in each episode we're focusing on like maybe one or two of the Office apps and talking about use cases of Copilot. Last week we talked about fun use cases with Copilot and did, all sorts of, like, we had Outlook in there, we had chat and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to do that again this week, where we're not going to dive into like a specific app or really demo a whole lot of use cases, but more talk about what is Copilot Chat. I think, I have some friends that are in, like finance or business operation roles at in, non-tech companies. And, I had a few people asking me, like reaching out to me, like, okay, with this, they heard of Copilot Chat and they said, does this now mean that I have Copilot? Their organization didn't have broadly rolled out, M365 Copilot. And so they're wondering, oh, does this mean that I have it now? And the answer is, well, sort of. So I think that, the net of the whole thing is this is an exciting announcement for users, especially for those that don't already have Microsoft 365 Copilot. Either the organization hasn't decided to make the investment yet, or there's strategic reasons you haven't. Could be a number of reasons, but this is sort of an AI for all, a really good way to get started, especially without diving into that significant investment. So, for the rest of the episode, we'll kind of focus on comparing, contrasting the differences, what's new here. As always, we're focusing on you, the user. So this is not, meant for your IT decision maker. This is more meant for, those of us doing day-to-day tasks in the business and, kind of trying to take advantage of it. So, yeah, Logan, you ready to talk about Copilot Chat?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, it was super exciting to see Microsoft invest in, AI for all. And I think this is a great way for more people to be exposed to Copilot. But yeah, I agree. It was a little bit confusing about the differences between the two. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think, and what confused me the most is like I saw, all this exciting stuff about Copilot Chat, and I was wondering to myself, like, hey, isn't that basically what I'm using when I use, Copilot and do the, that kind of user interface? So, I don't know. At least I found that confusing.
Yeah, no, certainly. I did as well. But I had a lot of fun learning about it in preparation for this episode. And yeah, I think I have a good grasp on the differences now.
Yeah, it is a bit confusing, but I think at the end of the day, the main takeaway here is this is a win for consumers. It gives more folks access to AI, and it creates a good middle ground for organizations that maybe, don't want to take the deep dive into, a full-blown Microsoft 365 Copilot rollout, but, do want to take some of the advantages of, time savings and stuff that AI can bring. Another point too, before we start talking more about like features and functionality differences between the options you have here, is that the naming structure has changed a little bit. So you used to kind of have just one name for personal Copilot and your work Copilot, but now they've changed the name structure a little bit here. So the ones that you're going to use for your work and your, kind of in business are going to be Microsoft 365 Copilot and then Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. The personal one has been just renamed to you get rid of the 365. It's just Microsoft Copilot. So that was one thing I thought that would be important for us to recognize. But I think with that, Logan, I'm kind of ready. Let's go ahead and dive into what's new with Copilot Chat. Does that sound good?
Cool. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so one of the questions that I've been getting, right when this announcement came out from like my friends and people in my network has been, people that were outside of our organization has been like, okay, do I now have Copilot, with this announcement? And the answer is, most likely, Copilot Chat is going to be available if you are on a business or enterprise SKU for M365, Office 365, that sort of suite. So if you have Teams and Outlook that you're using for work, you're very, very, very likely to have access now to Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Now, there are some options here, like there's some features that are only available if you've been given metered access, and that's not something, again, we're speaking to you, the user here, not the IT decision makers. So that would be something that is an organization by organization decision. And really, you can't get guidance from Logan and I on that. You got to go talk to your own IT department or your leadership on that. But what is Copilot Chat? So this is really, it's a web-grounded chat. It's using ChatGPT 4.0. And the big note here is it's web-grounded here. So you're going to be using publicly available information, but you now have access to be able to do this It's going to have the enterprise data protection and the IT management that Copilot Chat, or sorry, that Microsoft 365 Copilot already has. So it's going to be more secure. I don't think there's a lot of organizations that previously wanted you to go out and ask Chat GBT for coaching on work documents using a personal account. That now with this Copilot Chat, there is that sort of level of business security that's going to be in effect. And so what does this mean for you as a consumer or you as a user? Well, it essentially means that you now have Chat GBT, but for your business, safer to use with those kind of business documents and things that might contain more sensitive data. I'd say the biggest win to me, at least on the user level, is the integration with Pages. And you've seen a few examples of how Pages, like especially Logan and I on our team, use Pages on a regular basis to collaborate and share information. And we won't go into too much detail, in this episode, but maybe we can do a Pages episode soon.
Yeah, I would love to do a Pages episode soon. I've had a lot of fun kind of like learning about Copilot Chat in Pages and like the way that you can work collaboratively with other people. It's super exciting. I was having a lot of fun doing some research about that. So I think we should definitely do another episode in the future about it.
You're taking us a little bit off topic here. We're not talking about Pages today. We're talking about Copilot Chat.
Yeah, you're the one who started talking about Pages.
All right, let's not get into the semantics here and start pointing fingers or worried about who did what here. Let's just get this shit pointed right back in the right direction.
I'm not the one who pointed the first finger. You're blaming me.
Well, we're starting to sound a little bit like an old married couple. So, yeah, let's refocus.
Yeah, where were we?
Boy, now I've kind of almost forgotten. All right, I think we were trying to talk about agents until we started this whole mess.
Yeah, yeah. How was
Okay.
I supposed to know?
All right. Well, yeah. So agents, this is a great way for us as users to be able to create. With Copilot Chat now, whether you're on M365 Copilot or you're on, you now have access to Copilot Chat thanks to these announcements, and you're kind of your standard, E3 or Microsoft Business Premium user. You can now be able to create some kind of easy agents that, you're no longer having to work with your IT department or development team to, wait for them to build this for you. You now can do some of these basic things, and that is going to be something that we are going to cover in next week's episode. So, please do come back next week. I think, one big thing here is that it's not going to automate repetitive business tasks. That's going to require something a little bit more than your basic Copilot Chat functionality. And it's, with Copilot Chat, it's not going to be using business data. It's web grounded, and we'll talk about that as we compare the differences here. But again, to summarize here, Copilot Chat, great for everybody, a good win for us, but it is not, there are definitely some differences between this and, what we typically focus on in these episodes, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot. So there's a helpful chart that kind of compares these two that Microsoft has come out with. And I think, as a next step here, let's go ahead and take a look at that and talk about some of the differences and pros and cons between the two. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Let's do it. All right. So this chart is really, really helpful. I stumbled upon this probably maybe a couple days after I started to hear about Copilot Chat. And, at that stage, I was confused. I was wondering, what is this about? Is this replacing Microsoft 365 Copilot? Is this a competitive product to it? What is this all about? And for me, this chart really, really was helpful. I think it clarified the differences. It really illustrates that they're not really even competitors of each other, and certainly Copilot Chat is not trying to replace Microsoft 365 Copilot. So differences here. So the first one, for us as users, we probably honestly really don't care a whole lot about, but pricing is certainly different. So Copilot Chat is going to be free. It's coming with your M365 subscription your organization's providing for you. Some of it is coming on a consumption model. So this is something that Logan and I can't guide you on. This is something that is going to be different every organization, how this is handled and managed and metered. So, don't look to us. Go talk to your IT department or your managers to understand this more. Now, Microsoft 365 Copilot is still $30 per user per month. Again, we as employees of the organization. Don't care about that a whole lot. Somebody else's money, but just FYI. So we'll break down and distill this chart for you guys for the perspective of you, the user. So this is not guidance for any IT decision maker. This is just for you as a consumer of Microsoft products to understand a little bit better, like what are the differences, and like, hey, if I'm a Copilot Chat user, but I'm hearing that my organization is going to get, the full-fledged Microsoft 365 Copilot, what am I going to expect to be different there? This is kind of the conversation for you. So there's a lot of differences that you can see in the chart. To me, at least from my perspective, there are three key differences. The first one is Copilot Chat, and you see this in the first two rows of this particular chart. The web grounded chat. So this is, asking it to find you, information that's publicly available on a company, or, research the history of baseball we did in a previous episode. That's web-based chat. The difference here is going to be work grounded chat. So this is asking it to say, hey, give me information on all of the SOWs that we have with a client, or find me information on this HR policy. That's stuff that's going to draw from, SharePoint and OneDrive and all of the, maybe your own personal like Outlook and Teams interactions. That is work grounded chat. And for us, at least, that's a huge difference maker, being able to, draw from data. I don't know, Logan, you probably agree. I'm assuming I see you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I use that all the time. That's a pretty big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So key difference here. That's not coming to you if you're a Copilot Chat user, just if you are in the full-fledged Microsoft 365 Copilot. Another key difference here is going to be all of the checkboxes that you see in one column, but not in the other, under the personal assistant category here. So it's kind of, I don't know what rows, maybe 10 or so down here, but you can see a whole lot of blanks under Copilot Chat and a whole lot of those nice blue circles under the M365 Copilot. So Copilot Chat is not going to integrate with PowerPoint, Teams, Word, Outlook, all of those applications. It's going to be just sort of that chat functionality, thus the name, chat. So you can't ask it to create your blogs. You can't ask it to create presentations for you. That is only available to you as a full-fledged M365 Copilot user. Another thing too is, like, I think sometimes, like, in people that I talk to within my network that are in non-technical realms, is that they don't really know what their licensing looks like at their work. So one way to know the difference between what you have is when you pop up PowerPoint, do you see Copilot icons? If you don't, you're in this Copilot Chat category. If you do, you are in this Microsoft 365 Copilot category. Now, the last big difference I want to point here, and I've worked my way. I'm kind of doing these in what I feel as a user is most important, but it's not listed sequentially here on the chart. But if we go back to the agent, so section 2 here for a moment, lot of similarities in here, but what you see is the difference in that second to last row there, which states use agents grounded in work data. So using agents that are available there based on work data. That orange triangle means that, yes, you do have it with Copilot Chat, but it's going to be available on a metered basis. Again, we can't say this enough. What does metered mean for you? I can't tell you. Go ask your IT. But when you look at the Microsoft 365 Copilot, just like Copilot Chat with work grounded data, it's available for you. You can use those agents. There's not a metered limitation to it there. So those are the key differences, in my opinion. Logan, I don't know, anything that you want to say, like, talk about here, key differences wise, that we haven't already covered?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered the majority of it. There's a few things on the bottom row there, the SharePoint Advanced Management, the Copilot Analytics to measure usage and adoption, but those aren't really, necessarily. As a user, you're not going to care so much about those things. So, yeah, I think you cover most of the important topics that I would care about personally as a user.
Yeah, no, and I think, you bring up a good point. Like, most of our audience here are going to be in the user category, but, those adoption metrics and stuff are really important. Like, if you want to be able to see, are people actually using this artificial intelligence? Is it making a difference? Like that, you don't really have the access to that with Copilot Chat unless you just like go out and ask people, or shadow people as they're working and figure out if they're using it. Like, you're going to have to do a lot of legwork there. Whereas, with Copilot 365 Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot, you've got a lot of out of the box stuff that really is honestly, it's very good at showing you at a high level, like, are people using, this $30 a month license? Where are they using it? Are they using it in PowerPoint only, or are they using it across the suite? How often do they use it? So, I do think I agree with you that those metrics are like that. Understanding is probably not important for most folks, but I do think that that is an important differentiator that you've brought up. And I think, the one thing I do want to point out here that is a pro for us is going to be, right above what we were just talking about here in the enterprise data protection and the IT management controls and agent management. That's going to be something that you will have available as an organization with Copilot Chat. So, um, yeah, I think, this is some great, very high level understanding for us as a consumer of what the differences are, and something good for us to know, like especially as more and more organizations make the journey from this free Copilot chat and into that full-fledged Microsoft 365 Copilot license. In today's journey of the Copilot Compass, we broke tradition once again. Rather than focusing on a single app, we kind of, focused on talking about what is Copilot Chat and what are the differences between Microsoft 365 Copilot. So Logan and I took our attempt at demystifying those new announcements and talking about what is Copilot Chat for a user and a consumer, especially those of us in non-technical roles. We also talked about what's new with Copilot Chat and like some of those new functions that are going to be available for us consumers that maybe don't have that full-fledged 365 Copilot license. And then we kind of finished by comparing, the differences between the two, like what is going to be available to you once you go to that full-fledged license versus, what do you have as a user today? And if I could just kind of put a bow on it in summary, Copilot Chat is a fantastic way for, an AI for all journey. And for, companies that have not made that commitment to a broad 365 Copilot deployment to get users exposed to prompting and artificial intelligence as a whole. I would say, just to finish my thought on that, the way I consider is that Microsoft 365 Copilot is essentially Copilot Chat on steroids. A lot more use case for us there.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I would encourage anybody who has a normal M365 license to go out and try Copilot Chat today.
Yeah.
You'll have access to it. And yeah, you can even mess around with it. And yeah, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. And remember, we have the Q&A sessions at the beginning of each episode. So drop a comment on this video or just click the link in the description to email us. And yeah, new episode will be out next Tuesday, and stay tuned to get a sneak preview.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on today's journey, and we'll see you next week.